Audio logos are very cool, and I think they're not talked about a lot, even though they're actually a very important thing to know how to make. And I've done a few of them in my day. So this is what we call an audio logo. And like there are some very, very famous ones. Obviously, like you think of like the THX sound, if you have seen movies that start with that. Or, there's a million different examples of them. Sometimes they're a little longer, sometimes they're shorter. An audio logo it serves the exact same purpose as a regular logo, right? But just in sound form. It's a sound that you want to be super distinctive, usually very short. A lot of times, like game studios, movie studios, production companies, all of these kinds of entities will have them. Radio stations have them. And it's something that very, very quickly and effectively communicates like the vibe of your brand, right? But in sound format. And if you do it right, it should coincide and sort of sync with the actual logo or some kind of, animation or transition or whatever when your logo is shown in a piece of content. Audio logos are, I think, a very underrated kind of thing to be able to do because it's very different. Like there's a lot of similarities with, to composing like a full piece, but there's a lot of differences as well because you have a lot less time to communicate a point. So that sound in Bitwig is just that. It's nice, right? It's like vibey. And the way that I went about it, what I was trying to communicate here was how can I distill the essence of the kinds of games that I want to write music for down into literally like a 7-second. What is that? I don't even think, if you count the reverb tail, sure. But musically speaking, it's like a 5-second idea, right? And so when you look at my kind of pitch as a composer, if you look at my one sheet, my personal log line, if you want to call it that, is my work focuses on immersive, electronic, and hybrid orchestral scoring for sci-fi, fantasy, stealth, action, and horror games. Like that's my elevator pitch for myself, or kind of my brief to a client. Like, here's what I do best, right? And so you have to think about how to communicate all of those elements very quickly and effectively. So I started with just that shape on a nice EP patch. Because if I were positioning myself as an orchestral composer, one of the first things that you hear should not be what's effectively like a Wurlitzer or a Fender Rhodes electric piano. That is a kind of sonic texture that you typically hear in, certainly in stealth games, it's very popular, but in a lot of styles of music that are more modern. You hear Rhodes piano in rock music, R&B, soul music, and then a lot now in like ambient and lo-fi, hip hop, like all of those kinds of sounds. And so that little chord shape played on a Rhodes, but then with a big reverb, has a very like smooth, very modern kind of feel to it, right? So I started with that. And then I also found this really nice lead synth patch. That's like kind of Moog-ish. Like, again, something that you would hear in very modern electronic kinds of production, right? So we've got a little flavor of like kind of lo-fi-ish. We've got a flavor of modern electronic. Follow that up with a nice big sub drop for texture and also to lean more into that electronic vibe. And then you blend all of that with like a couple of textural elements. So we've got a couple of little crash cymbals and like a little clap with some reversing going on, some delay. Just for like nice texture. Again, modern electronic feels very distinctive. So you've got all those elements when played together. That feels very modern, very clean, very spacious, right? That feels sci-fi, could feel kind of stealth action-y, not like explicitly. It doesn't sound like action necessarily, but it's those kinds of textures, right? Then completely on the sort of other side of that, so I do electronic scoring, right? I also do hybrid orchestral scoring. Which is actually a completely separate musical idea. So the little keyboard sting and the lead instrument are playing essentially like a G minor 11 voicing. They're all doing that, which is like, again, it's very modern. It's very clean. It's very like, ooh, you know. Then the orchestral parts are going D minor up to an E flat. Underneath, so they're technically, I mean, they're in the same key, but they're playing something very, very different. They're playing a much more kind of serious, heartfelt sort of a theme, if you will. And I say theme quite loosely because it's literally 3 notes. But that sounds like a snippet from like a soundtrack, right? From a real proper score. So we're trying to, 3 notes tell you a lot. Yeah, absolutely. There's a rising to them. There's like a serious sense of hopefulness. It's a little phrase that it communicates traditional scoring and that kind of, orchestral sound. But it also, because it's got a little bit of that movement to it, feels very narrative, feels very immersive, and really sells that point of like, yes, like the music that I write tells stories. But then the counterpoint to that's kind of an answer almost in like a call and response sense to this very modern, very kind of clean, much more electronic feeling vibe. But that is also, it's not like some big crazy growly synth. It's like, oh yeah, we're here to like drop Call of Duty bombs or whatever. That also feels narrative in its own different way. And so when you put it all together, I think, at least, if I have accomplished my own goal here, an audio logo that like very quickly and effectively demonstrates like a lot of different skills, a lot of different sounds, and just like creates an overall vibe. Audio logos are neat. They're fun. They're kind of an unsung art as far as I'm concerned. I haven't done very many of them. I would like to do more of them. So if anyone needs one, please let me know. But yeah, it was a fun little thing to try to put together, especially just, for the purpose of the demo reel, right?